All right, so last week, President Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation address, outlined his plan to tackle our electricity crisis, among other problems. Today, members of Parliament began a debate on that State of the Nation address. It continues tomorrow. Let's speak to our reporter who's been watching it all unfold today. Aviwe Mtila joins us from Cape Town. Hello, Aviwe. So day one has just wrapped up. Lots of talk in Parliament. Obviously, the ANC defending the president and the plan, lots of criticism from the opposition. But I know that you've got a guest with you, so talk to us.
Myriad of issues, Sally, that have been painted out inside Parliament as that debate was raging on. Among others is the high levels of criminality and crime, of course, that is going seemingly unguarded, as we've seen the number of brutal killings happening in KwaZulu-Natal. Also, that brutal killing of AKA. I got a slight update on that from Minister Bekicele, who was about to leave, saying that they're doing their best on the ground to locate those killers. But of course, local governance, the issues that we continue to face when it comes to local governance, and the biggest one around the announcement of the national state of disaster and the Ministry, of course, of Electricity that will be under the presidency. Just to get a quick update on this, I am now joined by the Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Aaron Matsola. Minister, thank you for joining us at ENCA. A lot of criticism coming towards your party and the president. And essentially what the parliamentarians want to know, how this national state of disaster is going to work and how soon it will reprieve the country from the rolling blackouts.
Well, that's what opposition parties are for. They are doing opposition. Even on issues they are not supposed to be opposing. You will be aware that is the DA that has been calling for the national state of disaster in as far as ESCOM is concerned. Not on one occasion, but on many occasions. When it's eventually done, their opposition consciousness kicks in and they start opposing it. But the president will come and explain it. When you listen at the criticism against the state of disaster, you realize that many of them did not even bother to read the act, what you declare a state of disaster for, to read the act. Part of the things they can't argue against is that the state of disaster is not only declared for the primary thing, but even for the aftermath and the consequences of what happened. The farmers who have lost their livestock, small business who have lost their businesses, people who are sick, who can no longer get certain medication that are, dependent on electricity. In Home Affairs, for instance, many people don't know that even if we get a generator, it doesn't help our offices, it doesn't help the queues, because you need the networks to be alive in order to run any Home Affairs office. The networks must be alive, and as you know, when it's load shedding, you can start a generator in the Home Affairs office, but the towers of the network companies are down, and then Home Affairs closes. Now, all those things need us to do certain things that are not done under normal laws, and that's why the state of disaster is important, for us to be able to resolve the consequences of this problem of load shedding.
Minister, there seems to be a bit of confusion when it comes to Eskom energy and moving either to mineral resources or staying at public enterprises. The president seemed to suggest at the State of the Nation address that it will stay Eskom at public enterprises, while there seems to be a mixed message from, for example, the SG of the ANC suggesting that it will move to mineral resources, as also the ANC Lekgotla had concluded that it will move there. What's the official position?
I don't wish to add to the confusion. The president will be responding to the speech on Thursday. I think you just need to be patient. At any rate, I have not been appointed as a spokesperson for ANC. The SG is Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. When it comes to government, it's Mondli Ngubengele. I don't want to add to confusion. Can I leave it to them to clarify? I do know the answers, but I don't want to add to the confusion, because I've not been empowered to do so.
For the benefit of the country, Minister, you have the answers.
No. Honestly, let there be order. Every company has got a spokesperson. Every government has got a spokesperson. Let every political party also have a spokesperson. Let me not cross the lines. because there will be confusion.
All right, thank you very much. Minister of Home Affairs there, Sally, not wanting to add confusion, obviously, to already that confusion issue around Eskom. Whether it will stay at public enterprises, as the President alluded to last Thursday, or whether it will, in fact, move to mineral resources. But we've been having, of course, the debate for the majority of the day here at the City Hall, which is now the temporary home of Parliament. And John Steenhuisen was one of those that added the voice here, saying that while there was a lot of talk around the 9 wasted years under former President Jacob Zuma, the 5 years under Cyril Ramaphosa has been disastrous. I'm not sure if we'd have time just to listen to that bite.
Yes.
On Thursday, a courageous leader who really cared about this nation would have had the head and the heart to admit that his party is wrong, that it is time to cross the Rubicon and embrace the opposite of socialism, which is power to the people. Now, make no mistake about it, South Africa was ready to cross that river. The men and women of this country are tired to their very core of the abuse that this ANC government has put them through. On last Thursday, we looked to you, sir, our President. We asked you to show us the way across the river, to unleash the power of the market to solve our electricity crisis, to get the incapable state out of the way of the incredible resourcefulness and creativity of the South African people, to put us on the road to socio-economic freedom that all of the world's prosperous nations have traveled. Because we don't want to rely on being resilient, we want to rely on being resourceful. We don't want to rely on meager social grants. We want to rely on our own jobs and businesses. We don't want to rely on your cadres. We want to rely on ourselves. And what did our leader do on that riverbank with the fate of our nation at stake? President Cyril Ramaphosa could not cross the Rubicon.
So that's the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, speaking at the first day of the SONA debate. But, you know, we've also heard the Home Affairs Minister hitting back a little. But Gwede Mantashe had quite a lot to say. The Energy Minister, Mineral Resources and Energy Minister, had quite a lot to say about the DA. Just set it up for us.
Well, it was almost like a cat fight, Sally, inside Parliament there from the governing African National Congress as well as the official opposition party, the Democratic Alliance. In fact, Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, alluding to the fact that earlier on in January, the DA was in fact one of those calling for the national state of disasters to be implemented when it came to our load shedding woes. Then, of course, after that announcement was made on the 9th of February, they did a U-turn, suggesting that it's one of the issues that they want to take to court. So the Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, had a jab at John Steenhuisen for his recent utterances. In fact, I'm seeing the Minister of Mineral, I beg your pardon, that's the SG of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, seemingly to be walking away. But I wanted to take a listen to Gwede Mantashe as he suggested that the DA was uncertain about their stance on the national state of disaster.
We don't have time to wait for 24 months to resolve load shedding. That is how serious the President takes this crisis. And unfortunately, we have political parties that never want to be involved in finding solutions of any crisis. They believe that opposition means just opposing anything that is tabled by the ANC and its government. That is a mistake. Parties in Parliament should contribute to finding solutions to problems and crises. Now, in January 2023, the leader of the Democratic Alliance made a bold statement that will support declaration of the state of disaster on the emergency and the energy crisis. That was the 31st of January. Then when the state of disaster was declared on the 9th of February, the same leader of the Democratic Alliance came back and said, we'll take the government to court for declaring a state of disaster. Now, when you have the main opposition party talking from both sides of the mouth, we have a bigger crisis as a country.
All right, so lots of pot shots being taken. It'll be interesting to hear the DA explain why they've reversed their position, initially saying that they felt a state of disaster needed to be declared, and saying, well, they don't approve of what's happening now. But let's get to the third biggest party, which is the EFF. Of course, the State of the Nation address, they ended up getting kicked out. There was that dramatic moment where members of the party moved towards the stage where the president was, and they were pushed back immediately by the president's protection team. Lots of talk about that, of course. What did the EFF have to say today during the debate?
Well, they came out guns blazing for the likes of the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, and his ineffectiveness, they say, around curbing crime in the country. In fact, they say that the higher echelons of the policing department, the big bosses in the policing department, including Minister Bheki Cele, is in cahoots with the criminals, whether it comes to drugs, whether it comes to your gender-based violence, or whether it comes to your cash and transit heist. They all work together, Sally Malema was suggesting. Hence, you don't see a firm grip and the situation being really tackled strongly by the police. In fact, it went on to suggest that the alleged hit against the EFF deputy president that was being planned in KZN is something that Bheki Cele knew of and, in fact, was a part of. It's something that he says he reported to the president. In fact, saying that Cyril Ramaphosa is also aware of the involvement of Minister Bheki Cele. But it was not the only issue that he touched on. Remember, there was that chaos, in fact, last Thursday, as the president was about to speak, which saw the EFF being taken out of the parliamentary precinct. But there were words, of course, that were said there by the speaker on the day, and that's what the EFF says now. They have instituted the motion of no confidence against the Speaker of Parliament. Take a listen to Julius Malema as explains that.
We have already submitted a motion of no confidence against Mrs. Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, and we officially withdraw our honor we previously showed her. We also apologize for having showed her the honor when she evidently does not respect Parliament, does not respect the laws of this country, and can do everything to stay in office. Under no circumstances should a democratic Parliament be harassed and intimidated by the state security forces. The Constitutional Court has ruled that the police must stay away from lawmakers. It is the responsibility of the Speaker of Parliament to make sure that members of Parliament execute their responsibility without any fear or intimidation. But once you usher in police inside the chambers, you are effectively saying and allowing the tyrant to intimidate and even possibly prosecute those who disagree with the tyrant.
All right, so that's EFF leader Julius Malema speaking at that SONA debate. A second day tomorrow. We look forward to getting all the details of day two from you, Aviwe Mtila. Thank you so much for giving us the heart of what happened today. Aviwe.